deeply saddening. On behalf of the opposition in Parliament and on my own behalf, I wish to extend deepest condolences to the bereaved family and the people of Kisoro district, whom she served as leader. It's unfortunate that she has died at her prime due to a non-communicable disease, as we have been told. Her prime being 50 years. Honorable Sarah was generally calm and reserved, not too outspoken, like the quintessential politician. When she previously served as Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs, she exuded passion. Passion for her role as Minister for Youth and Children. Whenever we pressed her hard regarding issues of youth and children, including their welfare, government programs and promises to this peculiar part of the population, she always responded with a lot of composure. Even when you did not agree with Honorable Sarah Mateke, it was difficult to feud with her because of her calmness. She's the kind of person who would disarm you with her gentility. We've also learned that she was undertaking certain projects in our community. We pray and hope that those projects will live on after her as part of her legacy. The Honorable Speaker, my colleague, the Honorable Minister, has mentioned, of late the vice of corruption has continued to eat up our country, being perpetrated by leaders at different levels and civil servants. I did not hear of the Honorable Sarah Mateke's name embroiled in any corruption scandal during her service in government. And if there was one, then I probably missed it. As we send her off, may we all as leaders reflect on the imperativeness of not getting involved in corruption, but also using our positions and platforms to fight corruption, which has become an impediment to Uganda's progress. Honorable Speaker, when the Honorable Sarah was transferred to the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs as Minister of State, I saw an interview of her on TV a couple of days into office, expressing her desire to serve the Ministry of Defense, the men and women in uniform, and the country at large with commitment in this new role that she was taking on. Unfortunately, again, as Honorable Both has mentioned, the Honorable Sarah has passed on just a short while after getting into this office, so she probably has not been able to achieve all that she set out to achieve. As we mourn the passing on of the Minister laying before us here, let us commit to improving the welfare of the men and women in uniform. We must resolve, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the question of salary enhancement for the UPDF, which falls under the ministry she was serving, and by extension, police and prisons. The living conditions of our men and women in uniform continue to be appalling. We must address this long overdue concern. Honorable Speaker, the commitment which Honorable Sarah exuded as she took over office would certainly involve ensuring discipline among our men and women in uniform, now that the Minister in charge told us about order therein. I would like to use this opportunity to echo the need to call to order the few elements among our armed forces who paint a bad image of the rest by brutalizing citizens at every opportunity. We continue to see stories of human rights violations by our uniformed personnel, something that should be in the past. On Saturday, 14th August 2021, retired General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Tibuhaburwa, in a televised address, warned security operatives against human rights violations and especially torture of suspects. That was an admission of this unacceptable behavior among some within the forces. Unfortunately, this warning was not followed up by stern action against perpetrators of the same. Honorable Speaker, this criminal behavior continues to happen to citizens and especially supporters of the opposition and leaders too. Last week, My party leader, the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, was hit with a projectile by police and the military, causing an injury to his leg, only for police to say that he slid and fell as he entered his car. Stories upon stories of brutality have been told by suspects who get abducted using drones by plainclothes operatives, only for them to be produced in court with torture marks. In fact, some have been freed by courts because of that torture that was occasioned on them. As we mourn the passing of the Honorable Sarah Mateke, may we commit to not allowing illegalities within our forces, because all of us are potential victims, regardless of our political shades, as we have seen in the recent past, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. Finally, I would like to re-echo our call for military courts to stop being used to persecute citizens with different political beliefs, as we have seen for young people like Olivia Lutaya and others who have spent over 3 years in jail, with the court-martial denying them bail, and yet no evidence has been produced in court for their trials to progress, coming to 4 years for some of them. Right Honorable Speaker, this is not right, and it should be condemned by all right-thinking Ugandans, regardless of our political beliefs. In fact, some of these people are constantly being coerced to plead guilty with a promise to be freed since there is no evidence against them to date, and due to desperation and years of uncertainty behind bars, it is easy for someone in such a precarious situation to give in. Also, there are families which 4 years later are still looking for their loved ones who were abducted to no avail. I would like to remind the Right Honorable Prime Minister, who told the nation that John Bosco Chibalama was arrested and is in the hands of the state. Madam Prime Minister, his family is still waiting on you to have him produced in court or freed to return to his loved ones. I say all of this for God and my country.
Thank you.
May the Honorable Sarah Mateke rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For a resolution of this House to pay tribute to the late Sarah Mateke Nyalabashisi. I came to know the late Sarah when we met in the 9th Parliament.
Microphone.
I said, I came to know the late Sarah Mateke when we met in the 9th Parliament, and by the grace of God, by then I was still in NRM, she was assigned to the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, the committee on which I've been a member for some time. And at that time we had the leader who was so kind and generous like Sarah, Honorable Stephen Tashobia. And he made sure that all committee members behaved as brothers and sisters. And from that time, the late Sarah became my sister. And we're so close. There are 3 attributes I know and I want to elucidate upon Sarah. The first one was her generosity. One of her friends told me, of course she was born in a politician's family, and at the time, remember the 1980s, the goods were very scarce, sugar and the like. But Sarah would sneak out rods of sugar, soap and the like to the neighbors without the knowledge of her parents. And that was Sarah. A few months ago, I bumped into a graduation party in Central Uganda, Nakaseke, the Kato Corridor. With due respect, most of those people in that area rarely take their children to schools. And that graduation party was by a student. We last met when we had an ordination in Cavalry for Catholic priests. And immediately after the ordination, that was I think on 10th August, 1016 there, I requested her to join us at the bishop's residence for lunch, but she said she was rushing, but promised to meet us again. But she took to a shop 3 of her friends. And this is the story from her friend, one of the friends. Said, now, you pick a dress, you pick a suit. Now the one who was offered the dress said, no, me, you will buy me a dress when I come to camp. I said, how sure are you that you will find me arrive? Better take it now, if not. So she forced her to take something, but the PA, the man, went away with the suit. You will never hear of Sarah Mateke with any pomposity. No, most of us in leadership especially, and especially those who go to the front bench, want to lead a pompous life. Sarah was not. Extremely humble, social, and down to earth. You would wonder, and some of the areas where me and her used to meet for one or go to ribbon and the like, not these classy places, very humble places. You Kasoro, you may know some of them, but I hope you are not pompous.
Thank you.
So Sarah was really very humble and social. Yes, the Honorable LoP has talked about her integrity, and it relates way back from even when she was a district employee in Kisoro. You would never, up to now, you cannot hear about any scandal of a financial matter or otherwise connected to Sarah. That virtue of humility. That's still her loyalty to the people and her constituency. Sarah was almost in the constituency every weekend. Whenever she would not be outside the country, at least personally, whenever I would be in Kisoro, I occasionally go to Kisoro for some businesses, you would meet Sarah. If I don't meet her in Kisoro, I meet her in Kabadi, literally every weekend. And I think it could have been a part of the reason she has gone so fast. She literally loved her people and has worked for them. Now, on that note, Madam Speaker, you mentioned the pending projects. You know, honorable members, there are projects which had been begun across the country. Roads, bridges, schools, and health centers, which were partly, actually contracts had been signed, works had started, and all of a sudden they stopped because of the changes we made in the budget. Madam Speaker, I would implore you, talk to the executive. Let us look at those projects in the entire country, and especially for us who come from these areas that are prone to landslides. Honestly, the bridges that we had begun to be constructed, the road, the schools, if we do not complete them, if they are not done, we are going to see death. So talk to the executive, the Prime Minister here, the Minister of Finance. There are few ministries, works, health, education, sit with them, look at those particular ones, countrywide, and let's have them completed in memory of Sarah. May my late sisters so rest in eternal peace.